What must have been the reception of this book in the post-exilic period? Again, not knowing exactly when it was written, we can imagine, however, in the manner of a canonical critic, how it might have been perceived by people in the post-exilic period for whom it would have become canonical. The very idea of a prophet being sent to Nineveh, the capital of the hated Assyrian Empire, the home of the people who had destroyed the northern kingdom of Israel and the 10 tribes of Israel in 722, dispersing those 10 tribes forever. The nation that had then laid siege to Jerusalem and exacted tribute from Judah for many years. This must have been startling. And ultimately, then, this book would represent a strand of thought in post-exilic Judah that differed very much from the eschatological fervor that delighted in fantasies of the destruction of Israel's enemies, such as we found in Joel, and as would be featured later in Daniel and in post-biblical apocalyptic literature, most notably the Christian book of Revelation. The Book of Jonah reminded Israel that the universal God is desirous of the reformation and the turning of all his creation, human and animal, and proposes that the Israelite prophet is called upon to carry a message of divine forgiveness to other nations, not just judgment, even those that have humiliated and despised God's chosen. So wittingly or unwittingly, we may never know, the author of this little satire fostered the post-exilic sense of Israel as a light unto the nations. This is an idea that we've already seen in some of the late prophetic writings. Just a few words of conclusion. The literature of the Hebrew Bible relates the Odyssey of Israel from its earliest beginnings in the stories of individual patriarchs worshiping a Canaanite deity to its maturity as a nation forced by history to look beyond its own horizons and concerns. The Israelites were lifted up to become something greater than they could ever have planned. And they came to see themselves as God's servants to the world at the same time that they struggled and argued with their God and criticized themselves for their very human weaknesses and failings. And from another vantage point, the Bible can be seen also as an anthology that struggles against great odds to sustain a people's covenantal relationship with God.